friends. So we are spread, right? Our organization is spread. So, you know, Webster's Dictionary defines spread as to open or expand over a larger area, right? But to us, you know, spread is defined as supporting peer respect, education, and discourse. Okay, so we formed this group kind of as a sort of amorphous event coordination platform, right? And it's almost like a traveling circus, right? So, but instead of clowns and elephants, we sort of teach each other how to dance, teach each other or inform each other on, like, you know, how to do your own taxes, learning new skills and everything. And yeah, so just if one person has something that they're really passionate about and that they really want to share with the rest of the group, then we sort of get the event together, we let people know, and hey, come on in.
Hey, Victor.
Yeah, and that's the long and short of it. Yeah, we are spread. We like to spread what we love, spread what matters, right? And spread ourselves over a larger area over time. So today we are really excited to welcome Jackie, who's going to teach us all about the wonderful world of calligraphy. So take it away.
Friends, thanks. That was a fun intro. Yeah, so I've been interested in calligraphy for like many years. I started doing it in college. It was my like fine arts credit, and I was like, well, this is easy enough. But then I found that it's actually really helpful in a lot of different. I particularly enjoy crafting, so every year I make holiday cards and like gifting. Calligraphy has just kind of become a part of my life in different ways and shapes, and so wanted to take the time and kind of share some of that with you. And so agenda-wise today, I was going to give you like a quick rundown of maybe some history about calligraphy, some of the tools that get used. Today we're actually going to focus more on the brush lettering side of it, which is just kind of like a part of calligraphy that's a little bit more modern and used, more seen commonly now. And then we'll get into actually having you guys practice strokes and alphabet, and then I've asked most of you guys to think about quotes and things that you like, and so I have some extra like pretty paper and things like that, so hopefully by the end you guys will feel comfortable enough to write some cards or maybe make some decorations for yourself. But as kind of the icebreaker intro, would love to know everyone's names, and then a quote you enjoy, or something maybe that inspires you, things that you've thought about and feel prepared to start with. But I can start. So I'm Jackie. And then my quote is by Chuck Williams. So if you know the store Williams-Sonoma, the like really bougie kitchen and houseware store, I used to work for their corporate office, but also I'm a big foodie, big into like culinary arts and things like that. So there's a quote from him that's, when you love what you do, the world will fall in love with you. And so I always just liked using that as a driver as I think about the things that I like doing and why I like doing them. So Will, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, my name's William. And I guess my quote would be, I think, I don't know, there's not a lot of poetry that I've memorized, but there's one poem that you might have heard called Ozymandias. So maybe one of those lines from that, you know. I met a traveler from an antique land, said two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert, yada, yada, yada. That last part's not a part of it, but you get the gist. So maybe that would be my quote somewhere in there. Yeah.
I'm Steven, most folks know me. The quote I have a bunch of quotes on my wall actually to like stay motivated. I didn't write them out how nice, I just printed them and made ghetto posters. So it looks like
you could recreate them today.
Yeah. It looks like the Joker's crazy writings on the wall, whatever. One of them, and because I'm like, you know, politically minded, one of the quotes is a dude named Murray Bookchin. I have no idea who they are, but the quote is, a century ago, scarcity had to be endured. Now it must be enforced. So just, you know, that's kind of where my thinking is nowadays.
Hello everyone, my name is Carmen, and I have an album full of quotes on my phone. Yesterday I was scrolling through my pictures, like favoriting everything, but the one I decided on is by Ralph Waldo Emerson. The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be.
Hello, my name is Gordon. Most people know me as Gordon. And I actually came here without any kind of preparation, but I think my goal will be something forth as inspiration for myself and hopefully others as well. So I'll be digging through my phone and on the internet to find something suitable for later. Life hack for you.
Hi, I'm Claudia. So I don't think that what I chose is like really like a quote, but I was just thinking to practice writing happy birthday. That's not really a quote, but
it is.
It is
logic. Totally.
Richard, I also don't have a quote. I just want to do the thing where you write your name and then you also do it upside down and it connects.
Oh, that's intense. We will not be covering that today. But hey, getting started.
I just seen that online. I was like, oh, I want to do that.
That's the goal.
Okay.
So I'm Amy. My quote is by the late Queen Elizabeth II, and it's worth remembering that it is often the small steps, not the giant leaps, that bring about the most lasting change.
There's like a good range of like inspirational to we'll figure it out as we go. I like it. Okay, since we're a smaller group, if it's okay with you, I'm not going to stand. I can just kind of talk through everything. I want to kind of quickly give like a little bit of background on it, but I think it will definitely be more fun when we're actually all writing. But I think calligraphy in general, has been around for 3,000 plus years, right? And I think most of us have seen like calligraphy in like Chinese culture, and like that's where it largely originated from. And then kind of mid 15th century, there's a clear distinction between how people just write in normal handwriting to the more flourished and like beautiful, fancy script, right? Most of us learned cursive in grade school, I think, and so it's kind of moving in that direction where there's absolutely a distinction. So when we're thinking about calligraphy in general, there's a lot of different tools that we use, and I think probably most often when we think of calligraphy, we'll think of fountain pens, right? So it's like these inky ones that have the metal tips, and there's also like the quills and the dip pens, if we see like Harry Potter, yes. There's a variety of different tools that we use, and I think just to like quickly show you for a fountain pen that this is what I started learning on. We won't be using these today because brush lettering kind of lends towards using a brush pen instead. But it is this idea, like this one in particular this is a taken apart one, but right, you have your nib, and so that's got like the metal part, kind of sharp, don't stab yourself with it. You have little ink wells. You can look at them if you would like. And different tips will have different thicknesses and like different kind of strokes that we can look at, right? There's really so few of us that we probably don't do this big of a circle. And I think my pen still works.
Should we work
this morning?
People will trickle in, right?
Yeah, people will trickle in. But you guys can kind of get the idea. There's a different marker that does the same function. Where did my markers go? But it's that idea that you have like a flat side of it, and as a result, you can get different thicknesses depending on how you pull your stroke down, right? Where it's like diagonal, or if you go this way, it might be a thinner line. I apologize, I feel like I'm going crazy because I swear I had thick markers. I do. Okay. So this is the idea, right?
Whoa.
This is just a marker, but it does have that like flat side of it, the same way that a calligraphy nib would have, right? I'm just but it's this idea that with calligraphy, when you're writing, and again, I apologize, I'm left-handed, so a lot of things will get smudged today. So you guys will not be holding your pen as like awkwardly as I do. But it's that idea, right? Like if your pen is on an angle and you draw straight down, you're going to get it thick, but if it's a little bit tilted, you're going to get different strokes that have different weights on them. And so we'll be talking a little bit about that with the brush lettering too. But that's kind of like the nib, and the fancier fountain pens that you see is essentially this is what it is. Yes, keeping on with time. So today I mentioned earlier, we're going to focus more on brush lettering. So that's the more like what you guys see on your name, little name bags that I made, right? Where like things are a little bit more flourished and aren't quite as like uniform. There are a ton of different typefaces that exist, right? There's like Celtic ones that you've probably all seen in some inspirational poster at the library before, things like that. But today is really just going to be more about brush lettering and like this kind of font, just because that's what I chose to do for today. So what we're going to be using is these pens that I have. They're Tombow brand, and they're, I'm going to butcher the way we say this, but it's Fudenosuke brush pens. And so they... You're like, oh yes, because I do know. They're brush pens, but they're a little bit firmer, so they're going to look more just kind of like a felty ink pen. You know what I can do, you guys? Does anyone have a preference on color, or should I just press one? You want purple? You guys just want to grab one?
I just want to match my glasses.
You better hope it's still there then.
This one has fitness. Follow your heart, whichever one you want to write with. Such a sight.
Is yellow gonna be too?
You'll still see it on here. Yeah,
Is it a little black here?
beautiful, so beautiful. So they kind of just look like regular pens when you look at them. They don't have that flat side of it, but based on the way you're going to angle your pen and everything and how we're going to write, and we'll go through all the strokes together, you're going to see that you can achieve different thicknesses and different looks as you write. So I have printed packets that also include like, I don't know how to, so there's a handful of pages that's going to take us through all of the strokes we have to do. It's going to take us through the alphabet of like which strokes do you draw first and things like that. And then at the back I have tracing paper for everyone. That way you're not stuck just like drawing on the packet and then you can't use it again. If you use tracing paper on top of it, you can always just keep using it in the future for reference if you want to practice more later.
Thanks.
Oh.
Of course. I felt like a teacher when I was doing this.
Yeah, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have a bit of homework to do.
Right? So we can go through this together. And again, I want to spend most of our time today just like letting you guys practice. Because I think that's the most fun part of brush lettering in general. So we can start with, where's my book? We'll just start with the first page. So talking about the basics, right? So I mentioned before, hello.
Jedi.
You just, wherever you want to sit, and these are for you. So let's go through this packet together. We'll start with the basics. So I mentioned before, how we hold the pen is going to be a part of it. These pages are, like, in large part supposed to also just be reference for you down the road. In case you decide to write a birthday card like 6 months from now and you're like, I don't remember how to do it. Hopefully you'll have this to refer back to. So we're really looking to keep the pen at a 45-degree angle. And don't feel like you have to like push really hard, right? Like things should flow pretty smoothly when you're doing these, when you're just kind of writing. And I think if you start putting pressure on yourself to like concentrate and write really hard, that's when you start to see things start to wobble. Your lines might not be as straight, right? There's a little bit of wanting to make sure things are flowing. They should feel kind of natural to you. We all write, probably not as much as we used to when we were in school, but that's kind of the idea there. I think everyone is right-handed, as we mentioned before. Perfect. Okay, so you guys will get to hold it like a normal person, because when you hold it at a 45-degree angle, that's kind of the direction that you should be holding it in. Anyways, when I'm writing as a left-handed person, a little bit differently to get the same. Okay, so in the packet, I guess this page is fine too. The last page of the printed paper, it is just like we're back in grade school, kindergarten, we're learning how to write, and we have the lined paper that we've all grown to love. But there's a little vocabulary section on that first page saying, you know, what's the cap height, your X height, and your baseline, and a little bit of like the strokes and the details of what are we looking at when we're talking about the different strokes we're using. Any questions so far? We feel good about this? So the next part is the aesthetics, and I think this part is what really makes, with practice, will make your calligraphy stand out. Will make it look like what you could buy on Etsy for like $50 instead. But it is the aesthetics of it, right? So that angle that you're writing it at, you always want your pen at that 45-degree angle. When you start changing it a little bit more, the direction that you're writing in, that's when it might start to look a little bit more inconsistent. The thickness, right? So that's sometimes if you're pushing too hard for one letter and not another, you might be getting different thicknesses. Your height and then your spacing. So there's an example down here of like what maybe doesn't look as great. And then what, if you think about, you know, the consistency of like the angle, thickness, height, and spacing, what it can look like. So just things to keep in mind. And then we can start with the basic strokes. So what I would recommend everyone to do that's probably easiest, you could either do it right on the paper if you're feeling good about it, or you can take a piece of your tracing paper. It is super thin, so it is a little meh. But if you just line it up on top of it, you can get a lot more space out of it, right? Because you're just drawing that downstroke. And so if you use the tracing paper, which is nice and smooth as well for you to write on, you can just practice it all the way across the page and not worry about running out of space. So if you guys want to start, I also have, I know we're not supposed to have tape, but I have blue painter's tape that does not rip anything off of any surfaces if you want to tape it down for in case you're scared things are going to move around. It's not particularly windy in here, so we should be okay.
Are we practicing?
Yeah, so we'll start with the downstroke. Right, so think about how you're holding the pen.
Chinese.
Yes, that's exactly. Yes, practice your downstroke. So you should. So the takeaway is you should all be pros at this if this feels like Chinese school to you. Correct. Just like a flashback. Pretty much wrong. And again, you don't have to press super hard, right? This can just be you're drawing this downstroke. You're trying to get a little bit more thickness on it because you're coming down at that 45-degree angle. If you're feeling good about the downstroke, because I know that one's really basic. And so now we're looking at an upstroke, right? So if you're holding it at the angle that you're holding it, you're not going to change. When you are drawing up, it's going to come out a little thinner.
Hello? What is this?
So you can see it in the way the sheet is, but on your upstroke, it should be coming out as a thinner line, and that distinction is, you know, when you're drawing different letters, that's kind of where the brush lettering comes in, right? Why it's going to look fancier. So, like, as far as if you're feeling like it's like really tense when you're doing it, roll your shoulders back, loosen your arm. You can use your whole arm to write. Don't think about like just your wrist. Let it come out more as like a stroke with your whole arm. The next compound stroke, if you guys are just moving through it, you're just coming up first before going down and coming back up. So we're just building on the skills that we have, right? And everything on this basic strokes page, these are all going to be the strokes that we end up using in the alphabet. The later on pages are actually the alphabet, so as you get more comfortable with it, you can kind of see. And again, like, don't worry about like pressing really hard on it. Use your whole arm to move through if you're feeling unnatural about it.
Wow. Amazing.
You gotta do it that fast, bro. Damn.
Amazing. That looks
We
gross.
only have so many supplies, bro.
So it's that feeling again, like once you're comfortable with your downstroke where it is a little thicker, right? You might want to lean into it more with your pen. So when you're doing that S, that top part is going to be like kind of, you're going up first, right? So it's a lighter stroke, and then when you come down, let it be a heavy-handed, thicker stroke. And then, so it's every time you come down, you want it to feel a little thicker than when you're going up. So that's kind of the best way to think about it when you go into these S's, is every time you go up, it should be thinner, and then thicker any stroke when you come down. It is, the thing about this, it's practice. It's getting that like feeling to feel more natural to you, that when you're coming down on a downstroke, it's
always perfectly even apart.
Whoa. Well, that's really good.
Safe.
You feel good about it, Carmen? Good.
Listen to your lines, girl. Wow. I'm gonna hang this up on my refrigerator.
So beautiful. I love it.
Can you also make a compliment on mine before I do that?
So beautiful, so red.
I'll make it. That's all I want.
This looks really good though. I like that it is like very distinctly thicker when you come down on the stroke, which is important.
I did you hear that, Carmen?
Gold star. Gold stars all around.
Everything's
Wow. You have a cousin named Peter? Oh, Penelope.
If you guys are feeling okay, we can jump over to the letters, and we can talk through the first page. So, if you start looking at like the ABC page, there's very clearly like the way that it is drawn on the paper. Right, we mentioned that like consistency is really clear, really important when we're looking at all the aesthetics, and that angle is really important to try to keep everything at the same diagonal across all your letters. So I think I put up around the table some of the stuff I've written in the past, and you can see, I don't think you guys see it. You can see some of it, like my angles aren't consistent, and it's a little like, I can see it because I look at it so often. I know, kills me. So bear that in mind as you start looking at the letters, that we want to make sure our angles are staying where they need to, but if you look at the tracing, there's very clearly, it says like the first stroke of the A is an upstroke, and then you come down and you do that little hook, and then you'll do your crossbar after.
And when you're starting out with brush lettering calligraphy, it is really good to have that as a reference point. When you start looking at the letters specifically, like where should your lowercase a stop? In the like page where you're learning how to do the letter A, you can see that has those 3 lines for you to reference. But as you start practicing beyond what's on that line, yeah, I would recommend you use the line paper.
Why are you over here?
Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed yourselves and got a little insight to brush lettering.
Thank you, Jackie.
I think you usually send like a post survey, and I will have a note in there with like links and things to the supplies we used today and things I recommend. But I really appreciate you guys taking this time out. This is absolutely a test of patience and a test of just like getting back into like school feelings, right? Where you're just writing the same thing over and over again. But it does pay off, and it is really handy when it comes to the holidays or birthday cards, and it's just a fun hobby. I'm a big old nerd, and I have an Instagram account that is really just my crafting stuff, and it's jackattack.crafts. I will include it in the email. I do my best. I try to make it a daily habit to at least post something every day, at least on the weekdays, of a random quote. So if you guys ever have questions, you can always ask me. But thank you guys. I really appreciate everyone's like patience and willingness to learn today. This is, I know, a little bit challenging for some of us, and for some of us, we just flying colors. So thanks again, and then feel free to like let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you.